here on the agenda and presented to this.
Date 7:03, Wednesday, the 5th of July, call the planning board meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Steve McConaty.
My chair, sir.
Rick St. Jean absent. Sam Martin. Here. Tim Otterbach.
Here.
Peter Zavas. Not here yet. Bob Gillette.
Yep.
Dennis.
Yep.
Roy Barron.
Yep.
Bonnie.
Here. We have a quorum.
Stephanie Wood.
This is, minutes.
I make a motion we accept.
Second.
Discussion for the minutes. Seeing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That's the budget.
So Tim, did you vote?
No, I
Abstaining?
abstained, yes, since I wasn't at the meeting.
Made you voted in the affirmative, sir. It does.
Okay. That's a new one on me.
No, that's Robert's Rules and Regulations. Budget looks fine, except for Laura's gonna be working for peanuts.
You guys keep giving me more work. It increases my hours.
Yeah, well, I think maybe Sam, you wanna bring that up at the next next selectmen's meeting?
Well, we also have that line item we haven't spent, so
So,
we can move stuff inside the budget.
yeah, right, I know that, but you gotta have, you gotta go through the budget. So, I make a motion that the mileage other than Laura shall be okayed by this board, and that Laura's be okayed by Helen, as she has been doing. For the simple reason that she turns that in, her mileage is usually to the courthouse and town hall, etc.
Rick Sager.
Rick Sager.
I'll second it.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. No discussion, call for vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. That's the same, Laura, on Sager and Smith.
Okay, Sager and Smith, we got.
That's the one he cannot get.
No, there was a question on
Why it wasn't
why it was not accruing interest.
correct. And the report back was,
Because he's a lawyer and you can't.
He's a lawyer and cannot collect interest on their trust accounts.
okay. Yeah. Unsatisfied,
Yeah.
we're pending court on 3 and 4 on, 13 on Valley Point, which I haven't seen anything yet. Ossipee storage, that's all pending. The building permits, Steve,
Which one?
self-storage.
He started down there, Zimmerman, Paul,
Yeah,
he's in the first phase, he's got the first structure going in.
but I mean, is he pulled any building permit? He has, okay.
Yeah.
We left that up to you.
Very next morning he was in,
Looks good so far.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna go this way, but they're going that way.
What's that?
It's on a slope, the foundation, the bedding.
Well, it's all level now, I mean,
Is
they,
it level now?
yeah, they leveled it all
Yeah.
out.
They built that up and leveled it right off.
Nice looking job, actually, so far.
Mr. Hayes, I believe you're up.
Okay, well, I'm here to really introduce myself, pass out some information, answer any questions you have. And there are a number of statements that have been made at previous meetings and interpretations of things that I would like to correct as well. Probably a little bit too much to try to accomplish in one night here. But I know I'm going to be on a meeting with the select board, and I'm happy to come back and spend some more time with you folks. Just to introduce myself, I'm an 11th generation New Hampshire native. I graduated from UNH with a degree in economics. 2 children in high school. I understand the value of a dollar. And my word is my honor. So, you know, I mean, I think anything I say, I hope you'll believe. And if you find that it's false, I will be glad to apologize and retract anything that was said in this statement. But Lakes Region Planning Commission, I understand there's a question about what is provided to the town of Ossipee, and I think that's a very reasonable statement. One of my mentors was Ray Burton, and he once said, you know, Jeff, the only reason regional planning commissions are still around are because they save towns money. And I think that's the truth. I think I have letters. Every year we send in the fall we send a town report to the communities, and we list out, detail out all the stuff that we did in the previous year. And this was sent to the town probably in like October, November of last year. We'll be sending out a new one for this year. But you know, as I do go down through, so the first part of this, the outreach, we're a regional planning commission. We cover 30 towns in the Lakes region. So a lot of what we do is regional. We provide regional benefit. That's the main thrust of what we do is work regionally. But the first part of this report, called outreach, are specific services that we provided to the town of Ossipee. You know, as I go down through and look at this list of specific services, I do see a little disconnect in where the planning board's coming from. A lot of these services are provided in the realm of transportation and household hazardous waste. We work with Public Works mostly on that. There are some services that we provided to the planning board. There's some mapping services that we provided. Yeah.
You did not provide planning maps to this town this year. That was 2 years or 3 years ago, right?
So this would have been
Last year.
FY16. So I don't know if you're talking about calendar year.
Connie, I think the maps he's talking about went to Steve. They were the maps of the aquifer that the town is required by our ordinance to have on display in the town hall. I don't know if we have a copy here.
It was 3 years ago we started that,
Yeah, 3 or 4.
because cotton was not acceptable.
Yeah.
And Lakes Region said that they would do a water resource for us. And that was 3 years ago, I'm pretty sure.
Wasn't Bill still here when we started that?
Yeah,
Connie, you're right, you're right. I visited Lakes Region Planning Commission sometime, it may have been last fall, and found that no one had ever come to pick up the maps. They weren't sure who they were supposed to go to. So I brought them back and gave them to Steve, so he could have them on display in town hall as the zoning ordinance requires. So that was not their fault. They produced them.
Well,
Why
no, they
wasn't it their
did bring,
fault? Why didn't they contact us?
they did bring them a set, because they're on the wall.
Okay?
We had those right there.
This
It's different from that one there. It's a
That-
different map.
That's what we did, was
Yeah.
it, 3 maps. 1 basic map with 3 overlays, if I remember correctly.
The specific map
Overlays,
that I
right?
picked up and
Took a
gave
year
to
to do it.
Steve
Could I ask a question?
is actually referenced to the
Oh,
US
he's
Geological
talking.
Survey study that is referenced in our zoning ordinance. I'm sorry.
Yes, Dennis. Go ahead.
Are you?
You
aware-
have meetings how
Sorry.
often? Your group meets?
So, every town, I'm answering your question, every town gets 2 commissioners.
Okay.
Those commissioners meet about 6-7 times a year. From those commissioners, and they're our governing body, they decide on the budget, they decide on the bylaws, they're the governing body. From those commissioners, they elect an executive board. That group meets monthly with me, and provides direction to me.
So, we have a representative.
2.
How often has he been there, and just what has he asked or done for the town as a member?
Well,
Because
I know from checking the records that your commissioner hasn't attended any meetings for over a year. And, maybe
That's not your
maybe I
fault.
don't visit my brother enough, I don't visit my mother enough, but I know they're there when I need them. So, it's not for me to judge how often your commissioner attends, but it does put me in an awkward situation when it's said that we don't provide enough information, we don't do enough, and we are you. The state law, this isn't a home rule state. The state law, this is enabling legislation, RSA 36, that allows towns to voluntarily create a regional planning commission. You voluntarily created Lakes Region Planning Commission, and you voluntarily decide if you're going to participate in the organization every year, and you tell me what to do. It's your organization. The organization, you can change the bylaws. You can change the staff. You can do whatever you want to. It's your organization. You govern it. So I don't want to get into the us versus them, because we're all in this together. We're part of we're an extension, a voluntary extension of town government, and
I have a question for you.
Yes,
Are you all volunteers?
no, we're not all volunteers.
What is your salary?
My salary, well, I don't know if that's fair to ask me on a public
When you
place,
take
but,
money from this town, it's more than fair to ask you.
okay, it's $85,000 a year.
And the other salaries, please.
We have our principal planner is somewhere around $65,000 a year. Regional planner is somewhere around $45,000 a year. We have a hourly bookkeeper and an hourly admin assistant. And I hire probably a dozen different interns in the course of a year.
And
Most
that
of your
comes-
funding
Can I
doesn't.
finish, please, Mr. Gillette?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
And, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Collectively, those last few run what?
Interns.
I know, the comp.
Anywhere from $8 to $14 an hour.
So do you have any idea what the total is you pay for them in a year?
Total staff costs?
No, just this last group. The last one you gave me, the full salary was 45,000, and you said you have a group of other people, interns and somebody else.
I can't give you those numbers. I would have to do that research and give it back to you.
Your building, do you own your building?
No, we rent it.
And
We've
rent-
been in the same place for over 30 years.
Right, well, how much is the office?
About $800 a month.
And, office costs? So they're all.
Yeah, we have office costs. I mean, I can provide you a detailed breakdown of our budget.
I'd like to
It's-
see
It was
that.
discussed at our last meeting, it's voted on by our commissioners, so, I mean, it's all available information.
I'd like to
You
see
have.
revenue and expenses,
I
please.
think personnel issues would usually be done in an executive session.
What
I
are the
don't need
sources
anybody's-
of
I
your
don't
revenue?
need-
Bob,
Sorry? I thought you were finished.
You might ask. I don't need people's names. I just need the position or just the
Well,
salaries.
I mean, I understand, but there's we don't have a lot of people, so if you know a position, you know a person.
So you're taking, what you're saying is you're taking public money, but you don't really want to disclose who makes what?
I said that that's usually done in executive session.
Right, but you're asking this town to give you money, but you're not willing to disclose where that goes.
That's absolutely not what I said. I said that we usually discuss those things in executive session.
As
Because
far
that-
as I'm concerned, I asked to have those figures, and you're not willing to give those to
You
me.
can
I
provide-
gave you all of the figures,
And I'm asking you
actually.
for- I'm asking
But
for-
even though it's usually that's done in executive session, I honored your request and gave you all of those numbers.
I'm not asking you for anything that we don't ask for through the budget. When we do money, when we allot money, we always ask for revenue and
Okay.
expense.
Okay,
So
well,
this
is there
I'm not-
anything else you need to know?
I'm not targeting you, I'm just asking you for that information
Okay, I've provided you everything that you've asked for.
on paper. I'm asking for a report.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
we
asking
have
for-
a budget on paper that I can give to you.
A detailed budget, not just a block budget.
Yeah, we have a budget that I can provide you.
Okay, thank you.
Are you finished? May I ask a question?
But I'm on-
Relevant to your question, I wonder what proportion of your revenues come from town dues, such as the dues that Ossipee may or may not pay?
Well, I mean, the dues, we do a lot of town contracting, but the dues are somewhere 10, less than 15% of
Their
our
total
overall budget.
revenues? Yeah. And you
then
have grants and other sources of income from the
We
state?
have
and
grants,
federal government?
yes, yeah, we do.
Mr. Chairman, I have one quick question. Who is our local commissioner?
we don't have one.
Why
Rick
don't,
St. Jean was appointed. According to Mr. Hayes, he has not been there for a year. Bob was appointed by the selectmen as the second representative.
No, a week or so ago.
That was,
I guess this is all new to me, so I'm trying to understand just what the process is. You provide what you do for it. Now, I understand you can provide maps and detailed things that pertain to the town. But when you have your meetings, like they meet with you once a month with the commissioners, that information that you talk about should come back to us so that we understand what's going on around the Lakes region.
All our minutes are posted, the meetings are usually taped, just like this one. And those minutes are on our website, and I could send them to you directly, I'd be happy to do that. They're open to the public, they're open to commissioners, there's nothing to prevent you from having any of that information.
Who records your,
A private citizen does it right now. I think we're gonna start, we found that the private citizen doesn't always include the complete meetings, so we're probably gonna start taping the meetings ourselves and posting them on our internet page.
Is it routine that individual town commissioners who meet 6 or 7 times a year would come back to their planning boards and report what was discussed? And
Well,
just
that's it.
summarize what's going on?
I mean, we have a commissioner handbook that that provides an orientation and provides what the responsibilities of the commissioner are, and that's the whole purpose of the commissioner. That's what the commissioner is, the liaison. The selectmen, how the RSA reads is the planning board nominate and the selectmen appoint.
Right.
And yes, that commissioner that's what they're tasked with doing, is communicating back and forth between the two.
Have you ever met our commissioner?
We have over 30 communities, and it's you know, it's quite a job to try to get all the information out, and that's why commissioners have an important role there.
Have you ever met our commissioner?
Yes, I've met them.
Okay.
How many of those communities don't pay dues? There's several, I understand.
Up until this year, up until July 1st, we had unanimous membership, 30 out of 30. The town of Alton decided that they did not want to pay dues starting July 1. And then I heard the news about your vote, and you would be number 2. But for the last 3 years that I've been at the Lakes Region Planning Commission, it's been 30 out of 30 communities.
I heard you addressing some of these
Word.
issues that we addressed at the Selectmen's meeting with Representative Comeau.
Uh-huh.
Did you have any questions? It's not my place to ask, that's yours.
It's up to the chairman if he wants to.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You must speak anytime, man.
Okay. First, before we go any further, we have to take the emotion out of all this, because he's employed by a regional planning commission that was created by the legislature. The commission has specific things that he statutorily has to do. So he exists because we have prescriptive law in this state, and the state said you will do certain things. This, we should mention, is the comprehensive master plan is something that you have to do, which you work on. You do a housing needs assessment.
Housing needs, there are unfunded mandates from the legislature to do a regional plan, a housing needs assessment. You had mentioned the comprehensive economic development strategy isn't actually one of the things.
It
that
is
the
not.
Yes, that was one of the things I was going to tell you that I wanted to correct. Is not one of the things. We have prepared comprehensive economic development strategy, but it is not required by RSA.
You do, if a town has a development of regional impact, you have a committee that's formed. And
that's where a town, a planning board, voluntarily makes the determination of regional impact and asks for the comments from the RPC. And yes, if we are invited by the community to make comments on the development of regional impact that they determine, then we make comments on that, yes.
Which you did in the case of Westward Shores, I think.
Which we did on the case of Westward Shores. I mean, I would love to see that whole process. I think that's something where RPCs could be more effective, frankly. I think there should be, the whole idea that I understand behind the development of regional impact statute or enabling legislation is a better way to put it, is that we can, I'm sorry, go ahead, Chair.
In the first place, this board never voted to give Freedom or Effingham regional impact. What was said was, I make a motion to consider regional impact. Mr. Gillette and the previous chairman took it upon themselves that was what we voted on. When I voted, I said consider, not anything beyond that.
I'm sorry, I don't recall that at all.
Well, it's right in the minutes and it's right on his thing. And you immediately, you and Ski, said this is regional impact we got to address.
Mr. Chairman?
Well,
Yes.
let's not go there at the moment. But I think that's
I'm not
incorrect.
trying to act like the
No,
chairman.
I know,
This is an
but,
agenda item.
I mean, I just want to clarify that
Well,
that was never voted by this board as a board.
it was never contested, that decision was never contested. They provided input, their insights to this
And
project,
it's so on us.
and we found that it was useful.
So it cost us a great deal of money. For
They
no
didn't cost
reason.
us any money.
But, Ed, go ahead.
But what I was going to just finish in saying there, if you don't mind, was that I think the intention behind that was to keep things out of court, to get towns talking amongst each other, to keep things out of court.
No.
And I think Well, I think that was the intent behind the statute, sir, and Chair.
I understand
And I understand that maybe it didn't work well, and
No, it didn't.
I'm saying that it should be improved, but that is completely up to the membership of the Lakes Region Planning Commission to improve that. We developed some guidelines a couple of years back to help to say, for the planning board to review, to say, okay, when should they make a determination of regional impact? Just some guidelines, a checklist thing to help guide them in making that decision. But that's they are accepted, and then we comment when we're asked to comment.
The problem with regional impact is the minute we accept an application, by law, we're supposed to determine whether it's going to be a regional impact. And I don't see how you can. There is no way that if I get an application and I've gone through it and they haven't presented,
Right.
but if you read the statute, it says upon application. And
Right. I'm sure the statute could be improved. We try to help you understand, help to guide you in when you should, guidelines for when there may be a regional impact. That we understand that it can be confusing. The law does leave it completely up to your jurisdiction
correct,
as the host community to make that determination.
correct. Leaves it up to the 7-man board.
That's the planning board, yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
the other issue here was I have to make a correction on what I said during the select board meeting when I stated that you don't lose a vote on the commission if you don't pay dues. What I was speaking to was Stratford's Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is any populations over 50,000. The feds designate that area as a Metropolitan Planning Organization, and in that case, Stratford, I'm on their TAC board and also on their policy committee, the MPOs. I only get one vote, and each town could get two, depending on their population, but because we don't pay dues, we still get one vote. And I was a little concerned, and this is when I started investigating the difference between Stratford and Lakes Region, and how, and my interpretation of the law is that even if you're a rural commission, which Lakes Region is, that you'd still have to follow where you still have a vote, especially with the transportation. But obviously, I'm gonna have to look into that, because you're
Well,
saying that's not
I'm
correct.
saying that that's not the interpretation of the New Hampshire DO2. I very much appreciate you making the statement, but I think you should satisfy your own need to understand it. But I can tell you, my word is that this has been tested many times, and it's the case with the MPOs because they're federally mandated, they're federally controlled. The Regional Planning Commission is not. We have bylaws that were created by the towns themselves, and we're not subject to MPO control. And that might be part of the misunderstanding we have about where our budget comes from. A lot of federal funds come into the state for transportation. We contract with the state of New Hampshire for transportation funds. The MPOs could be said to be contracting directly with the federal. So that's why when you said that the majority of our funds come from federal, I corrected you to say, no, our majority of our funds do not come from federal. They come from state and local contracts.
Well, may I continue? My next question would be, do you work on the statewide transportation improvement plan?
Yes, we do.
Well, that goes under chapter 22899, and it says in here that, and rural regional planning commission shall reach an agreement, and it says you still have to be consistent with that US code, which says at the end of it,
I called the Department of Transportation today. I talked with the director of the Planning and Community Assistance Center. They're the ones who make that determination. And he told, and I've worked for regional planning commissions for almost 25 years. I've been down this road before. I've seen it tested. I can tell you that it's my understanding, and my understanding of precedent, where this has been tested before, and it's in my, from 25 years to this afternoon conversation with DOT, my understanding has not changed. I understand that you're picking up a piece of paper and you're trying to read it and try to understand it and trying to interpret it, but it can be complicated and can mean different things to different people. But I'm telling you what the status quo of the interpretation is.
But when I called several other people, I didn't just go by my own interpretation, but when I simply went to the Governor's Council, they had an issue with it, only because they were a little concerned that why are some transportation boards getting a vote or people having a vote. My concern is that they're saying you're going to lose a vote on that transportation item. That's my issue.
We just had our annual meeting in Wolfboro, just minutes from here. Joe Kenny, Executive Counselor Joe Kenny, was an honored guest at that meeting. I had conversations with him at that meeting. Last year when there were Gasset hearings, they were held jointly with the Regional Planning Commission meetings. I understand what you're saying, but there's, you know, I think your interpretation is that the Executive Counselor is surprised and thinks that we're running off, you know, with powers that we don't have. It just isn't a correct interpretation.
Well, that's not really what he
Oh.
said. What he was saying
You
is
were
that
saying
this
he was
needs
surprised.
Well, he was surprised because he felt he was concerned that why, he understood, and the statute's clear on the Regional Planning Commission side, but he was concerned about the transportation side. That I don't know how you can deny a town a vote on the transportation side of what the commission does because they're not paying dues. That was the issue.
Well,
that I
that's our
think we
bylaw,
need.
as you understand, and I've heard you say to this meeting, that's part of our bylaws. That's how we can do it, because it's our bylaws to do that. And our bylaws, I heard you suggest that the federal agency might take precedence over our bylaws, and maybe we would have to change our bylaws because of the MPO, the Federal Highway Administration. And I think I would very much disagree with the idea that we should change our bylaws because of those regulations, and the fact is that we don't have to. That's not the
You're
interpretation.
telling us that bylaws overrule federal law and state law?
I'm telling you that those federal laws do not apply to us because we are not a MPO,
Right.
we are a Regional Planning Commission.
Question.
I hope when all the answers come out and this gets clarified, that this camera here records the truth to this question, because there's a very clear, if I had an official from New Hampshire DOT here right now, you would be getting an official word that couldn't be questioned, and I.
That's a matter of opinion.
Well, it's who makes the determination on those questions today?
Are they the governing agency with that question in mind?
Yes, they are.
Excuse me,
The DOT is the governing agency.
excuse me,
Is that what you said?
For
excuse me. Sam, you wanted the question?
I have a question. You're questioning what Brad Harriman, our highway,
He
He's
serves
the
on
assistant.
the TAC committee. as
right, and so
chair.
what they're saying is he would lose a vote.
He would lose it.
his vote. So it's not up to this planning board to pay that dues so that he gets his vote. It would be up to the selectmen, I would think. I mean, he doesn't serve with the planning board, so I think that the cost should probably drop down to the selectmen. If he's looking for a vote.
I think the fact is that the majority of the services that we're providing right now are with the Public Works Department.
Right, that's
On
what
the
I thought.
household hazardous waste and on the transportation. I believe that those benefit the entire town, and they benefit planning issues in the town. But I think it's a fair thing to point out.
Right, because the benefits fall pretty clearly on the highway department, or on the.
They do. There's a lot of benefits that I think the planning board could enjoy that they're not enjoying now. But I think currently, if you look through the services that we provided, yes, I think a lot of them are primarily benefiting the Public Works Department.
Does it matter which department pays the dues?
Absolutely not. I mean, I think it usually comes out of, well, maybe I shouldn't say usually. A lot of times it comes out of the selectmen's budget, the general fund. It doesn't come out of any department. And I think that's the best way for it to happen because a lot of what we're doing, right now, a new initiative we have going on is to aggregate electricity demand in the region. So we have 20 towns so far that are interested in bidding out their electricity together and getting a lower rate. Right now, Ossepee's paying about 12 cents a kilowatt for the supply, for the distribution charge and supply charge.
Which
The supply
company?
charge through Eversource.
Okay, so
Is
a
your
lot of us
supplier
don't have
here?
Eversource.
Well, I think Eversource covers most of Ossipee, or I thought all of Ossipee.
Well, 80% of Ossipee.
Okay, all right, well, okay, so
Covers quite a
I'm
bit.
corrected on
This
that.
area here.
But I think, that's true, when I did talk to Ellen Wade, she said there were a handful of town accounts in the co-op. Still, the co-op is getting about 8 cents a kilowatt.
The streetlights are all Eversource.
They're getting 12. Another commission just was doing this program, just got it for 6 cents. So I think there's so that's kind of that's an example of, well, that's not going to benefit the planning board. That doesn't help you do the hard work that I know that you guys do here. So and I'm very interested in doing more regional purchase activity. I think there's a lot to be gained from that.
But I do believe it falls under the selectmen's budget, not this budget.
We seem to be talking a lot about the vote, which is important, but forget the vote for a second. If we no longer become a member to this that don't pay dues, most of the things that are on this outreach are no longer available to the town. In other words, if
Yeah,
we-
I mean, this is new territory for Lakes Region Planning Commission. The last executive board meeting, we were discussing the Alton situation and what to do about that. I mean, I agree that what we want is to have, it's like having a family member that doesn't come to Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, you want to find a way to get them back. Ignoring them or putting them over in the corner, isn't a good way to do that. So, but at the same time, I have towns that are saying, well, what should we do about those lost dues? Are you gonna increase our dues to make up for the guy that's not paying his dues? That's not fair either. Why should we be paying somebody else's share of dues? So that's kind of in the discussion stage. What is clear from the bylaws are that you don't have a vote at the table, you don't have official representation. Our programs like the Household Hazardous Waste Program, which we've run for over 30 years with 25 communities, and I would argue saves a good share, if not all of your dues, just for that one program, the regional purchase that we do on, and we take a huge risk on that. What we do is we take all the towns together and we do an RFP and get the lowest cost contract. And then we estimate what that is to the towns, and we send out allocations to the towns. So your allocation was somewhere about $4,600. That's based on your population and your number of households in town, and maybe there's another part of that fund I can't remember exactly right now. That we estimate what that'll be. For the last couple of years, that's gone $20,000, $30,000 over what was estimated. And we don't pass that on to the communities. We make that up in the following year in operation revenues but we're taking that risk away from you because we never know who's going to show up at these household hazardous waste collections. We don't know what's going to show up. I mean, there's bombs, there's ether, we have to get the bomb squad in all the time to deal with what comes at those household hazardous waste collections. And so what we charge, what you get, and there was some misstatements about that I just wanted to correct too. So what the bill you get for the household hazardous waste is just the disposal costs, or just all of those funds go to the hauler. It's Clean Harbors, this year it's gonna be Clean Ventures. So it's been
So it's a
90
contract.
plus thousand. Yeah, it's
So
just,
it's a contracted,
it's,
an amount.
yes, a
contracted
contract amount
on top of our dues.
on top of your dues for disposal of
Okay,
household
thank you.
hazardous waste. But what is covered, what dues cover are all of the staffing costs in organizing and preparing and entering a contract and doing the RFP and meeting with the coordinators and carrying off the event that covers over 25 towns. That's the part of the household hazardous waste collections that the dues goes to pay for.
Question.
Go
Yes.
ahead, Dan. If I can go
My
ahead.
understanding is your job is mandated by the state.
The
You just said it a few minutes ago. This whole
Well,
process
the
is all been mandated.
RSA, I think we better be careful about these words mandated. The RSA has what's called enabling legislation. Anything, in the state of New Hampshire, we're not home rule. Anything that you can do has to be in that book. If it's not in that book, you can't do it. The state gives you the powers that are in that book. If it's not in that book, you don't have the right to do it. So those are that's enabling legislation. One of those enabling statutes is RSA 36 that allows towns to voluntarily create a regional planning commission and be members of it if they want to.
No, the statutes.
No, that's incorrect.
Oh, please, let's talk about this and let's clarify this. This is
The
something,
purpose of this subdivision
Yeah.
shall be to
Yeah.
enable municipalities and counties to join in formation of regional planning commissions,
right.
whose duty it shall be. Whose duty?
Whose duty it shall be. Yeah,
Right
No,
there.
he's just saying that each thing you're supposed to do is it's a shall do. All these
Oh,
things,
well,
that's all, there's nothing
but-
wrong with that.
yeah, it tells us what we can do.
No,
Absolutely.
it tells you,
But
you
have
shall
the
do it.
duty to.
Can do and shall do are different.
Okay.
Shall,
okay.
May.
shall, and may.
That's what it's
May
telling you.
and shall are two different
Right,
words
okay,
in the
okay.
state statutes.
Okay.
May
So-
gives you permission if you want it. Shall, you will do it.
I agree 100% with you. That's different than saying my job is mandated, I
I
thought.
guess what I'm asking is,
Yeah.
what is the state paying for?
I'm sorry, Dennis.
Why isn't the state paying for it
Well,
as a whole?
because the state can tell you what to do and not
No,
pay
but
for
I'm,
it.
I'm just saying, you know, this has all been mandated. Well, it's,
We barely passed the
you
budget.
shall, okay? It puts us in our right, we have no choice. Then if that's what they want us to do, whatever costs come, should be picked up by the state,
I mean-
not by the individual towns.
That book also tells you what your conservation, what your ordinance, your zoning ordinance shall be and shall look like. That tells you that you shall have either elected or appointed members of this planning board.
Correct.
It tells you you shall have a town meeting. It tells you shall have a tax rate. Those are all things that the state law
Doesn't say
says.
you shall have a town meeting because some towns do not have a town meeting.
Okay, I'm corrected on that one. I thought that it was
No.
I thought that it was a requirement
Wait
for
a
a
minute.
town meeting.
You tell me how Laconia can have a town meeting.
Well, they're a city. They're a city for one thing. That's a
Yes,
different
well-
form of government.
Uh,
And they have plenty of things on what they shall do as a city.
Would I be correct in saying that you view your primary client in each municipality that's part of the Lake Region Planning Commission, your primary client is the select board? Or is there a primary client?
Our primary client is the commissioner.
Huh,
The commissioner is the person who
The
interprets
town's
what the
commissioner.
town wants.
okay, so.
The town appoints, the planning board nominates,
Alright.
the selectmen appoint a commissioner. They are saying, this is your official ombudsman, this is your official representative of our town.
Who is not.
This is who you should listen to this is who, you know, this
Like
is who.
Sorry.
That's what it is, that's the role,
Okay.
that's who votes.
At least the principal
That's who votes on my
intermediary between the
bylaws.
town and.
Our bylaw, that's who determines our bylaws, that's who determines our
Okay,
budget.
so let
So
me-
they are ultimately the client.
Let me turn the conversation, if I can, to what you can be doing for us if we were to ask you, if our commissioner were to show up and to interact with you on a regular basis. And one thought that I had that I started to discuss earlier, we're talking about various situations that our zoning officer encounters that are not clearly or well dealt with by our zoning ordinance. And the question is, should we adjust our zoning ordinance to help him in his job? Seems to me what we can be doing is understanding his situation very well and relaying that to you, and you may have some experience from other towns in how to deal with these very same issues. Whether a commissioner does this, or we get Steve down to Meredith to talk to you, or Meredith up here to talk to him, to get your expertise put into this. That's one thing. We are well overdue for working on a master plan, which you've talked about from time to time. I look forward to moving forward with it. I can't imagine a town developing an updated master plan without some input or advice or professional review by the Lakes Region Planning Commission. A third area that we might think about is this. Ossipee, I think, is one of the few towns that does not have a capital improvement plan or program, which is a useful planning tool, but it is also, there's an economic incentive for doing this. If ever a major developer were to come to town and want to build a shopping center or a large housing development that would impact costs, operating costs here in town, have to buy a new fire engine, water and sewer, etc. Without a capital improvement plan, as I understand it, we could not pass an impact ordinance that would assess some of these costs to that developer.
That is covered,
Pardon me?
that is covered under the subdivision regulations which we have been empowered to act.
Well, but we do not have
We have the authority to give impact fees in the subdivision.
Perhaps in the subdivision,
In the
but not a major,
subdivision
but
regulation.
not a development such as a
Yes, we
shopping
do.
center.
Yes, we
I don't
do.
believe we do.
We do.
We do.
Under the
My understanding,
subdivision.
but listen, let me ask Jeff here, if I may. Without a capital improvement program, can we assess impact fees on a major development?
I think it's very risky standard because you have to have a logical nexus between what the fee is and what the costs are to the town.
Right.
So unless you have a way of determining what a fair and equitable way of apportioning those costs to a developer, then and that usually comes out of the CIP, then you would be on very thin ice. I wouldn't recommend
We
it.
did come close to having one about 5 years ago, as I recall. I was asked to lead a committee. I did, to organize this. We worked with Lakes Region Planning Commission. Your task was to assess, to analyze the town's expenditures over the last 10 years or so. But ultimately, the whole process failed when one of our fire precincts declined to participate in the process. So it came to nothing. But it's something that we probably should address again. And I can't imagine addressing it without the help of the Lakes Region Planning Commission.
All right.
That's a good question, Connie.
Tim Johnson, you asked one of the questions.
Oh, it had to do with, it's already been answered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
Moved on so far, I want to go back to maps. Are you aware the states are redesigning all the maps? Just the state maps be going by shortly?
I'm not sure I totally understand. There is.
State's going to one map. I've been
I
going
think what you may be talking about are that there's an advisory committee. Maps. There's a lot of assumptions. There's a lot of methodology there's a lot of interpretation of maps. And right now, many of the different departments at state are doing their own mapping, and they don't mesh together. They don't line up.
They are actually.
Just like sometimes zoning maps and tax maps don't line up.
They actually got people in the field, they're doing the whole state, soils, wetlands, everything. With one state map. I've actually got the guy's names with my computer straightened out. And now we are getting calmed down, so we can invite him here. He'll be explaining whether our maps are gonna be legal or not.
Well,
Because the state, I'm a licensed septic installer. I go to classes. I actually take designer classes, because I'm bored with the other classes.
Yeah.
And they're telling us that very shortly, there'll be one map, and a lot of these maps we got will be obsolete, and they won't recognize them. So you
Right,
might-
I think
you might wanna call
what I would say is
environmental.
that they're having standard protocol for
There's
how
gonna be a lot
maps
of
are done.
change to them. You might wanna call environmental services down there and
No,
check in with them.
We do, and we're involved with the state with maps, and we have a pretty advanced GIS system. And on maps, maps are involved, the way maps come together, there's all kinds of different layers of maps, and they combine in all kinds of different ways. And I thought a good example locally is, if you look at your zoning map and your tax map, it doesn't necessarily line up. The idea is to have all the maps lining up together.
I understand that. That's what they're doing. They're realigning it. That's what the only maps are gonna recognize shortly.
All right, Sam?
I just have one question. So if this goes forward, or if it comes under the auspices of the selectmen, then selectmen would choose the commissioners, am I correct? Not the planning board.
The selectmen already choose the
I
commissioners.
know, that we approve.
You
them.
appoint,
Yeah.
the RSA wouldn't change. And the RSA maybe needs to be updated. I mean, I think, it's a 50, 60-year-old RSA. We were dealing with much different problems. Growth management, who's talking about growth management these days? There's not a whole lot of conversation about growth management.
Actually, be in the 40s. About 45 years. I'm about 14 they passed this.
All right,
Yeah, but the RSA does say that the planning board nominates and the selectmen appoint, and that's the RSA.
But then if the dues got switched over to the selectmen, would it still fall under that way?
Yes, it would still, the RSA wouldn't change, it would still, the selectmen are free to, they appoint, so they can honor the nomination of the planning board or not.
So
I
how do
mean,
you?
just
how
like
do you
everything
know-
else, the selectmen are the governing body.
So how do you know when a commissioner comes to you and they ask you for something, that it's being done with the grace of the board that they represent?
Well, I think the fact that we can't check every time is the honest to God answer. I mean, you appoint that person, we require that you send us a letter on your letterhead signed by the selectmen appointing that person. And when we have that, we feel that that person has been, just as a planning board, the planning board, you've given that authority. If you appoint, I don't know if you're elected or appointed, but if you appoint an official, then they have that authority.
And we can also,
Until it's
we can
taken.
unappoint them.
Absolutely you can.
Okay,
Absolutely you
thank you.
can. And we recently sent a letter that we wanted reminded you that you have two commissioners, a right to two commissioners, and we would very much like you to appoint a second commissioner. And we sent you a letter about Transportation Committee, that you have a right to appoint an alternate to the Transportation Committee. And we're very happy to have a backup team or, a full team to work with.
Well,
And I think we
team
can.
is the word.
It is the word.
Ed has a question.
One last thing, about the line item of where it's put in the budget,
Yeah.
the selectmen is the body that's supposed to create the budget, correct?
Right.
It's up to you where you want to put that line item. Brookfield, for instance, puts it in the planning board. Now, they could during budget season change that and have that up in their actual budget. They still control the whole budget. So I'm not sure it really matters, where it's coming out of, but that can be changed.
More, that's why I asked.
One more, right?
How often do you guys meet? What nights, what dates, what do you do?
So, as I was saying before, there's the full commission, that's the 2 members from each town, and then there's the executive board.
I'm talking about the commissions from
The full commission,
Yeah,
I mean, they're all commissioners from the town.
I understand
They
that.
all are. One is a subgroup of the other. The executive board is a subgroup of the full commission. The full commission, we meet about, the bylaws require that we meet 6 times a year. And that includes, we have one meeting. The Lakes region is broken up into 4 areas. So we have a meeting in each area of the Lakes region, so that's 4 meetings.
That's all the commissioners going to that different areas?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But it is, I think, some of the thought behind that is that each area might have some specific issues and might want to work with its neighboring, immediate neighboring towns on some things. So those are the area meetings. The last couple meetings I think we've had at the Tri-County CAP, meeting down here in Tamworth. But we try to move those around regularly. And then there's the annual meeting, and then that's where the executive board gets elected. And then there is one full commission meeting. It's supposed to be not just focused on one area.
So that's 6 meetings a year, everybody shows up. Then you
Not
got-
everyone shows up at every meeting, but we have pretty good.
Well, they're technically supposed to show.
Yeah, I mean,
That's my point.
Yes,
So it's about every other month you meet, then the full board,
yeah.
and you guys probably, the semi-board, if you want to call yourselves, meet more often.
Yeah, the executive board, I'm not part of the executive board, I'm staff, but the executive board meets every month.
What do they meet, last couple hours generally?
Yeah, it's usually like 9 to 11, the second Thursday of the month.
Second Thursday.
Is that
And then the
open?
commission meetings are almost always held on the last Monday of the month.
Is that meeting open to the public?
That meeting is absolutely open to the public. And, yes.
Ms. Hayes, I'd like you to get out on this outreach and tell me exactly what Lakes Region did for this planning board, not the town, the planning board.
Well, and I have some other handouts here too, but I think I'll readily admit that when I went down through this list, I didn't see a lot of direct support to this planning board. So I didn't see a lot directed to the completed planning board maps, the town hall. I don't know exactly what that was.
It was the.
I mean, I have 30 towns with lists of 30 things, and, you know, and I try to keep on top of everything, but I'm not familiar with everything here. I'll readily admit that. So there, that first bullet is something. Third bullet down is completed planning board request for 2 CDs of all maps and transparencies. I don't have, these are written up with a timesheet. People write up what they did, and they're included with their timesheet. And this is all the detail I have on that.
I picked up, as I recall, those 2 CDs, and I think I left one copy with Steve, but I have the other copy because I don't think anyone else is into reading GIS maps yet.
Oh, you got the
Well,
copy.
if you've got the copies, you bring it in here and
I
leave
will,
it.
as soon as I can find it, yes. But you've got nothing to reason with at the moment, the way the software.
We're happy to provide maps whenever.
But we can work on
But
that.
I go to, I mean, you know, I mean, I could talk a lot more about all the things other things we did than the things for the planning board. I readily admit that. That's, I think, one of the first things I said.
You're doing more for the state than I can see on the roads than for this town.
Public Works.
Well, you know, I mean, I think the roads are pretty important to the town. I mean, you know, I understand what you're saying, but I think the roads, I think the town wants to have a voice on priorities and how the state roads are handled and where you have dangerous intersections
We
and other things.
We just went through this.
Okay.
Johnson Gas, you know where that is? Route 16,
I know
Route
Route
41.
16 pretty well. Yeah, I know that intersection very well.
Okay,
That's there's a major safety audit, road safety audit going on there.
correct, because we just approved the gas station there. But we have no control over those roads. None whatsoever. DOT says, you do what we tell you to do, period. They are gonna do the twin bridges in 2016. Now it's 2018. So, they don't listen to the town.
Well, I mean, I think that's part of why we have a regional planning commission, is that we have a louder voice there's what, 234 towns in the state. There's 9 regional planning commissions. Regional planning commissions can have a louder voice and speaking to the state. And we can be effective in being
As
an
an
advocate.
Ossipee resident,
Yeah.
I want to see Lakes Region Planning on 171 and 28 intersection. And get there. Department of Transportation to do something. We've had too many fatalities there. And they say, oh, we're just, no. We've been fighting it for
There's
3
a
years.
bit of a transportation crisis in this state. There's a huge backlog of transportation projects.
How many people got to be killed there?
Your public works director is the vice chairman of the regional transportation committee.
And
He has a
is-
strong voice on the regional transportation committee. He's a good advocate. He knows what he's talking about. I'm willing to work with the town and advocate for the town and work with DOT the best I can. I mean, we can't tell the state what to do either, but I think we can have a stronger voice if we work together.
Ed, did you go to that meeting?
Which meeting has thousands of
No,
meetings?
no. With Joe Duchesne,
Route 28 and 171.
Route 28.
Yes, I was in the chamber with DOT, all the police, state police, local police,
Yeah.
Jeb Bradley, Mark McConkey, and the other reps.
If there isn't a fatality, you're not even on, and you're saying there are fatalities. But if there aren't fatalities, there's many where there's very dangerous accidents that don't even meet get ignored all the time because there's no fatalities. The first thing they say is, how many fatalities?
They wouldn't accept it. They only went back 10 years.
I
And
know
we've
people-
had fatalities ever since that road opened.
All I can tell you, I know people get awful angry at the state and people get awful angry at the federal government, and so do I. But we're not the state government. We're not the federal government. We're the town governments, and we're
No.
trying to have a louder voice to be heard by those by those larger governments.
But
That's all I can tell you.
Here is a problem that Lakes Region should be right there, but they're not. They've had Jed Bradley. They've had Mark.
Well, Jeb Bradley was the speaker at our annual meeting. We talk to him all the time. Mark McConkey has been a commissioner of LRPC in the past, has said that he's a friend of LRPC. So, the executive counselor, was at our annual meeting, was an annual guest. So, I mean, we work with these people and they work with us. When they have a question, many times they call us. Mark McConkey is on the list of, he needed a map for an economic development meeting. So we provided that. I mean, we work with these folks. Could we do a better job? Yes. Can you tell us more specifically what you want from us? Yes. Can we work better together? Absolutely.
I'll say no more.
Question?
Yes, but Dennis,
I guess, we're kind of an offshoot of, right now you're telling us the transportation side is, as Sam had mentioned, talking with the road superintendent, it's very important. He seems to be getting a tremendous amount from it. If the selectmen decide to take that, put it take that money and apply it somewhere else in the budget, we get the benefit of that.
Can you do that,
We'll still have people represented, right?
Can you do that, Sam? That there's a line item in the planning board budget to go and spend it?
I'm broaching it, because this board doesn't seem to get a whole lot from that, but Public Works does get a lot from
And
this.
we will get the collateral benefits if you.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and I don't know how my fellow selectmen will feel about that, but because Brad gets the bulk
Yep.
of what happens, and I just went down through this list, and looked at who's where.
Bicycle and
I mean, and I see
pedestrian
Public
proposals.
Works, DOT, Public Works.
Mhm.
Carroll County's regional, Mark McConkey's probably a regional. The CDs are just something somebody, who requested those?
I think that was handed to me. I said, you know, can we have the CDs that created the map so we can, we have to
Okay.
manipulate them ourselves on a
But they're
computer.
not, they're benefiting you and probably Steve, but not anybody else on this board, so, and that's not a complaint, I'm just
Yeah.
making a comment. So I've been down through here, so like I said, they have 1, 2, 3 Public Works on here, I don't think there was anything on the next page. The other one was Route 128 and 71, and then there are just others, so just, and household hazardous waste costs us approximately $8,000 a year, am I correct?
No, I think it's closer to 46, it's a little bit more than the dues for the disposal.
For the town?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure
I
it
couldn't
was
remember.
about $4,600.
$4,600.
And as I said, that covers that goes directly to the hauler for the disposal costs.
Right. I just couldn't remember the
And
amount.
then dues, though, help out with that event by covering staff costs and organization costs and publicity costs and all the rest of it.
Thank you.
Sam, if I could just make a further comment on the maps. At the moment,
I
the
got some,
planning board has one computer that Laura uses, and only she is allowed to use it. I understand that Ellen wants it that way, that's fine. But we don't have access to a computer that we can put GIS maps on and read them.
Well, then maybe that's something we ought to consider for our budget, but, I mean, for you to take them home is,
Well, I can read them at home, but, you know, I can print stuff out from them, but it doesn't do us very much
Okay.
good.
You know, we've
it
worked
doesn't
with
do the
some.
board any good. You've
One-
taken a document that belongs to the planning board home to your personal home. Perception.
Might get lost.
Yeah, one of the things that we just worked with Tuftonboro on, been a really nice project, is we've actually helped them put their tax map and zoning maps online. So anyone can go on your website, town website, and be able to see where all the tax, where all the tax map lots are, and where all the zoning districts are.
We already have
And
it.
as well, oh, do you
We
already
have
have that?
GIS and we also have a colored
We
zoning
paid
map.
for it.
Did you, okay, you have that, it probably, I haven't, I'm not.
Dumpton Borough is too cheap to pay for it. They got you to do it. We have to pay for it.
No, that was a small fee that we charged them to do that, because it was quite a job to do it.
Yeah, but
it
ours
was at
are
a discounted
updated
rate.
every year.
Well, you must go, you probably go to, one of the other cartographics or Avatar or one of those. I mean, I think we do it for a very competitive rate. I think if you looked at how much it would cost us to do that, you would see some benefit to membership.
I'm not changing that,
All right.
we're all set, thank you.
Do we get those books, those blue books from you all at a subsidized rate?
Yes, yeah, those land use books are, yeah, we get them at
I don't
a
have-
small percentage of the actual cost. Because we buy those in bulk, and we get them delivered all, to our office, and then we distribute those out all over
We
the
still
town.
pay for it.
And reduced rate, discounted rate.
Yeah, I think you pay about, maybe a third of the retail.
The planning board paid $78, if I remember correctly. I don't know, conservation gets some planning board and ZBA.
Conservation.
No, conservation doesn't. ZBA and planning.
Need new ones every year, because they're
Yeah.
always changing the laws. We've done a number of educational things on accessory dwelling units and signage, and those are, it's always hard to keep up to date on those new zoning and planning regulations.
To what extent do you work directly with the zoning enforcement officers? Is it always through a planning board or a select board? Is it sometimes directly?
I mean,
with the
we're
CEO?
pretty, we answer the phone, whoever calls. I mean, it can be a nonprofit working in the town, it can be a town, any kind of a town official. We really don't, we probably should, I mean, when we have conversations like this, I wish we did a better job of keeping track of all the things that all the phone calls we do take and all the stuff that doesn't make it up on these lists. I mean, we don't ask questions when people call. We provide, we help the best we can.
What? This 4281 that you assessed our membership at,
Yeah.
what is the range of membership costs? And how do you determine what the membership fee should be?
It's a formula of 50% assessed valuation and 50% population. I think the city of Laconia is the highest, and that's maybe 14,000. I don't know the exact, I should know that exactly.
So it's not proportional.
It's proportionate to your assessed valuation and your population. So if you're,
How big your town?
we
So
weigh them equally.
You're saying
We weigh them equally.
that
So if you're 10%,
Laconia is only 2 times the size of Ossipee.
well, I think that would be almost 4 times, or 3.5.
No, if you got 4,000 here and you got 14 there, how much
Okay.
more?
3.5.
3, 3.25, whatever. But you're saying, we've got 5,000 people in this town. Quote, right about that. I don't know what the assessed value is.
We use the census and we use the Department of Revenue Administration tax assessment numbers, so we use
So
the
you're
same
saying-
numbers for everybody.
So you're saying that Laconia has only 3.5 times our assessed value, which I can't believe.
Well,
No, I said that it was a formula between population and
Yeah,
assessed
50%
valuation.
population.
For instance, Moultonville only has 4,000 people year-round, but it has twice, 3 times, maybe even more than that, tax value, tax base than Laconia does.
Oh, yeah, because of the lake.
Yeah.
What are their dues?
10 or 11,000, 11,000?
if a town were 10 people and $100 tax evaluation, there would still be a base level of dues of 1,000 or 1,500, I imagine, and then you build on that based on your formula. It's not a simple formula, I gather.
No, it is a fairly simple formula. I mean, I think it's basically increased by inflation. There's an inflation factor that gets added. I think the original budget was basically enough to hire 1 director and a part-time admin person. And then it's just increased with inflation each year, since then. And now it's somewhere around $120,000 that we receive from dues, and we have somewhere a $750,000 or so overall budget, depending on the year.
What'd you say that your budget was what?
So I think it's approximately 750,000. I can get you that exact number.
I
It
just
changes-
didn't hear you, sorry.
It
that's why-
changes annually, depending on what we have going on. Right now, we have a major brownfields grant. It's sort of a pass-through, so if you have any derelict properties where there's some suspected contamination, we can pay for 100% of any, or if you're considering, the town is considering taking a property for back taxes, and you're worried about buried tanks or anything like that, we can do an environmental, we have an engineer that does an environmental assessment on the property. But that's a sort of a big pass-through, and that is a federal grant. That's our largest federal grant right now. you know, there's things like that. Did I bring that? I would love to be able to use the brownfield program in Ossipee. I mean, I would love for someone to identify a brownfield site in town. Because the funding is there, we have it available. A lot of it goes to Franklin and Laconia. We're looking at, this is just kind of a little infographic, it's called, one of my interns. whipped
These
that
are
up.
town-owned properties?
Yeah, they can be town-owned, they can be non-profit owned,
Yeah, we can have.
they can even be
one 5 minute-
privately owned.
What a 5-minute recess.
All right.
I see what it-
I'm sorry to take up all your
No,
time.
no,
This has
because
been very
You hit the nail on the head.
back in session. May continue, Jeff.
So I don't know what else to tell you. I was just gonna say, these little things I passed out, they talked a little bit about economic development. There's a grant program, the Northern Border Commission grant program, that I think is something else that Ossipee hasn't taken advantage of yet. They do, Ashland just got $250,000 to upgrade their septic receiving station. I did work with a organization in town that was trying to do a culinary institute over at the county complex.
Nursing home.
Yeah, and I went and I met with the county commissioners about that and talked to them about how they might be able to combine that with a community development block grant to renovate one of those buildings there for this culinary kitchen. It didn't go forward. I know Wolfboro is talking about getting one of these grants to do a railroad museum. But it's an economic development grant. It's available to, it's called Northern Border Commission. It's available to Coos, Carroll, and Grafton counties. So that's something else that, in addition to the brownfields, that where there's a lot of opportunity to take advantage of. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is we're your organization. What do you need? What are we doing that we're
And the septic, again.
what
is
can we
one
do
of
that
those.
we're not doing, and how can we do it better and make us better? You know, I accept that challenge.
What does the economic block ensure?
Are you talking about like federal ties
I don't
and
know, you're saying
federal?
you're saying,
There's federal funds. I
you're
think
saying
there's-
that there is a economic grant available.
Yeah, there's all kinds of economic grants available. And depending on the project, I could talk to you about it. I mean, I worked in North Country for almost 20 years. That's what I did, is I did water and sewer systems, I did business incubators, I did a lot of different things. So I'm very happy to talk to anybody in town about economic development projects and grant funding sources.
Ossipee has an economic development council or committee?
Yeah.
It does. Have you had any contact from them?
I don't believe I have,
You could.
but I'm
Yes,
certainly down
Dennis.
for that. That's one of my strength areas.
I had
would
an
say.
opportunity some 20 years ago when we started the Constitution Park. There were monies available for that. But the committee that I was on had no idea in the world how to
And
get
back then
that.
it was hard to do.
If it wasn't for Donna Sargent and Jimmy Thompson, who had some background in that, we never would have ever got that money. So if you're telling me that you're there to help us
Right,
get
the
grants, because there's a lot to it, there's a tremendous amount of work in getting that grant.
Really?
And they worked tirelessly on it
Right.
to help us. So that's a big, that's big. I mean, it took months to get all the paperwork together.
It does anyway.
That's good to know. That's really good to know.
Well, thank you. I mean, I've done a lot of, I have very good economic development credentials. I'm actually a member of the New Hampshire Business Finance Authority. I'm on that board. I'm serving my second term. I kind of brought that with me to the Lakes region. I've been on the New Hampshire DRED Economic Advisory Committee, the committee that advises DRED on its activities. I don't know if you just heard, there's a new, Governor Sununu has appointed a new Commissioner of Economic Development, Taylor Caswell, who I've worked with a lot and would love to work with more. And I work with DRED on this Northern Border Commission. They administer those funds, and we're designated local development district through the Northern Border Commission. So it's, very helping. I'm very happy to help on any economic development issues.
Can I ask you a question, Jeff?
Sure.
Would we have gotten this much attention if we paid our dues?
If you ask for, I go to meetings all the time. I mean, if you asked me to come to a meeting, you wouldn't get a no. I can tell you that.
Even if we didn't ask you, if we just paid our dues, we probably never would have met you, we never would have seen you, we never would have got this information.
Well, there's two ways of looking at it. I mean, if you paid your dues and you used our services, you would know me very well. There's a lot of communities that do.
It's really nice that you show up and you talk to us. And do you do this in other towns?
I absolutely do. I was part of both boroughs' committee to hire their new planner. I did the same thing with Moultonville.
But they asked you, right?
I actually called up and offered to help in both of those instances because I said, I thought I had something to offer. I hire planners all the time. I thought I could help them evaluate a new planner. And in the case of Moultonville, they had gone almost a year without a planner, and I offered to do a recruitment, to do some headhunting for them, and got them a planner within a couple months. So, I take your point. I think squeaky wheel does get the grease. I think we do have 30 towns, and I can't be everywhere all the time. I can't.
But somebody can. You've got other people on your staff.
Well, you heard what my staff is. I have 2 other professional planners, and I have a bookkeeper and an administrator.
I've been here 9 years, I ain't seen you yet,
Right.
till tonight.
Well, I've been here for 3 years, and I can tell you I've lived in Carroll County, for my whole life, and went to UNH and drove through Tamworth all the time. Tamworth, Ossipee all the time.
We worked with Dave Jeffers some years past.
I don't know what to tell you. Maybe we are obviously but I see Brad Harriman, monthly.
Not us.
I know, I understand.
We're just
I understand,
a-
and that was the first thing I said, is that you have a legitimate thing, that I didn't see a lot of services. I readily admit it. I'll call a spade a spade.
Well, I think this planning board bears a little bit of the blame too, because we did have a commissioner who was supposed to be attending these meetings and bringing information back. And I've been here a year, and St. Jean has never mentioned one word about anything or anybody. So my thought was, we're not getting anything from them, and they're not offering anything, because we never hear anything. So I think maybe we need to get maybe someone who will attend those meetings and get back to the selectmen and the planning board.
Give us the true story.
And let us know what's going on.
That's why I volunteered.
You have 2 commissioners, you have 2 people on the transportation advisory, but it's not like anyone can't call. Any one of you can call, anyone, I can come by. It's all an open door policy.
It's just a squeaky wheel policy now.
Well,
Thank you for coming, we really appreciate it, thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity.
I appreciate you coming in and talking to us, and we will think about what you told us, look over this stuff some more, and maybe we will reverse our vote. But At this present time, I'm not willing to entertain that thought. I gotta give it a lot more thought.
Well, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to come here and to use up a lot of your time, and you gave me a lot of opportunity to talk this evening and to answer a lot of questions, and I do appreciate it. And I want nothing more for you guys to continue to be members. I'll be honest about that. I want there to be, I think the Lakes region is one of the more cohesive regions in the state, with the lakes creating a common bond among the region. I think there's common needs and common things that need to be addressed in this region. And I know that there's a lot of differences too. I know that very well, and I learn it every day about how there's a lot of difference between the region. So don't try to underestimate that. But I'm coming from the North Country that covered a third of the state, and 3 counties, and 51 towns, and 24 unincorporated places, and it was a much more, wasn't as cohesive of a region. So anyway, I appreciate your time.
Well, I'll tell you, I feel it's just like the Mount Washington Housing Authority.
Yeah.
We're an orphan to them.
I know, you're sort of in between regions, yeah.
I feel that because of our geography, we're an orphan to Lakes region.
I understand.
And, I mean, I don't know who Freedom belongs to.
Freedom's part of the Lakes Region Planning Commission. One of their members are on our executive board. And Tamworth has somebody on our executive board as well. But no, I think a lot of towns feel like they're,
The orphan child.
the orphan children. I mean, I think people, I think the region is centered around Winnipesaukee. I mean, I think there is a truth to that. But I think major part of your town is lakes and Ossipee Lake, and you have lake issues, and a lot of those are very similar. And all I can do is try to listen, try to talk, try to do better in the future, and try to hold things together the best as I can, do as good as I can.
All righty, anybody else got a quick question for him so we can get home?
Thank you very much. No, just thank you for coming.
Well, I appreciate all of your time and meeting everybody.
Jeff, it was very
Thank you.
informative.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate everything, and I appreciate Ed. I appreciate the conversation I had with Ed, and I think he was very big to come over and talk about the whole voting issue and stuff. And I
Did he
appreciate
roast
it.
you enough?
I think we had some pretty good, intelligent conversation. What do you think, Ed? I don't know.
I do, but I'm still gonna challenge the fact that your bylaws, the bylaws of an unelected board are denying the vote for transportation issues. I think that needs to be clarified.
Okay.
I look forward to that.
I hope we do, and I hope that issue gets reported in front of this
It
camera.
always does. You can ask them.
Okay,
Everything I
great.
do is always happening.
Great, and I'd be glad to talk. I'll be at that Gasset meeting where you discuss that and go from there, but, I mean, I think everybody has to pay their share to be part of the group. That's my opinion on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Next item on the agenda, Dollar General was approved in October last year, and Ski had his stroke and never signed them. I have signed them, and I believe I signed them as vice chair. So I need this board to allow me to where is the signature block?
You've got a lot of pages on this side over here too, folded over still. So you're probably way off.
That's right. I can sign them as chairman. I need a second signature in this board to okay it because it was passed prior to my becoming chairman. So I would entertain a motion for that.
I make a motion, we do a second signature?
I'll second that.
Discussion. Made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm gonna cross out the top one tomorrow.
Just do a one-line initial and then do it. And then you can sign.
Wouldn't you just have Roy sign as a second signature?
Do what now?
Draw one line through the signature.
Draw one line through,
Yeah,
And then initial that
and
line?
then
Initial it.
initial.
Like on a check, Connie.
okay.
And now you can sign.
All right, we gotta sign, well, we got 4 or 5 of them to do.
Good.
And do the same thing here. So I'm doing that, and Roy and I are doing that.
Borrow your pen, please.
Stevie!
I cross out and I'll sign rather than going back every time.
You're up.
All right, this one. Go ahead.
Would you like to talk about the travel trails? Is that what you want to talk about tonight?
You have,
4.9 and 24.11.
.9 gravel trailers?
Yes.
Yes, travel trailers and
we just need to know what you're wanting the wording changed, what wording you want changed.
The way it's written right now, a resident in Ossipee can park a travel trailer on their property, not use it. If I'm reading it right. In that year, they could take that travel trailer and put it on a different parcel of land that's vacant for up to 14 days. Am I reading that right?
Do you want me to read this?
They can,
So
they
a
can store,
homeowner with a travel trailer in their yard can't open it up for use.
correct.
Right.
They have to put it on a separate parcel of land that's not being used. And they can
No,
use
they
it.
can live in it 14 days a year on their own property, as long as it's not hooked up to water and sewer.
Okay, read the ordinance.
Want me to read the other one?
Certainly.
All right, ordinance 4.9, travel trailers and campers. A travel trailer and/or camper defined by this ordinance, owned and registered by residents of the town of Ossipee for personal use, may be stored or parked during periods of non-use on the premises of the owner, provided it remains mobile, is not hooked to utilities, and remains uninhabited. Amended in March 1996, the town will allow occasional use of recreational vehicles on parcels of land if parcels are used for not more than 14 days in any calendar year. The landowner must comply with the remainder of RSA 216-1:13.
I think I'm reading it right.
You can't use it.
You can't use it on your own property. You can put it on a separate parcel of land
Well, you can use it,
for 14 days.
The ordinance doesn't
Just
make
can't
that
be hooked up to
distinction.
it.
The ordinance doesn't make that clear.
In 95 is when they changed it. That's when they,
96. A question, Steve, not hooked to utilities. Was I in violation if I had a extension cord running out to my RV to keep the battery charged during the winter?
No,
no, if it's just maintenance.
that's maintenance, that's a different story. You're not occupying it. You're not occupying it.
No, we're not occupying.
You know,
How
it's
does he
plumbing.
know if someone's occupied?
Thank you.
But it's both. It's not hooked to utilities and remains
There's
uninhabited.
there's two sections to this. The first section and then the section that was adopted. The section that was adopted allows you to put it on a separate parcel of land and use it for 14 days. Has nothing about the recreational vehicle being used 14 days, it's the parcel of land being used 14 days.
Where did that appear?
That's the last part.
Oh, the last sentence, you mean? Well,
It's
Oh,
nothing-
you're absolutely correct.
So it does, so it's, and how you read it, and the way I'm reading it, you can't park it in your house, in your driveway and use it
For more than 14 days.
You can't use it.
Can't use it
Use
at
it at
all.
all.
You can't use it
You
at
have to
all.
put it on a
Wait,
separate
wait,
plot of
which is
land to
wrong.
be able to use it. And that's the way I'm reading it.
You get company over, why can't they spend the night?
It doesn't say that their parcel
It absolutely does.
excludes the owner's
It may be
property.
stored or
That's-
parked,
That's correct.
non-use, during periods of non-use.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As long as it's not hooked up to anything, so.
It does not say a separate parcel.
It doesn't, no.
Right.
In 1996,
It does not. This says the town will allow occasional use of recreational vehicles on parcels of land.
if parcels are not used for
If
more than
parcel, yeah,
14
not
days.
use more than 14
So that's a
days.
vacant parcel. Nobody's
No,
using that parcel of
They
land.
may have meant not used for
Not
this
making a
purpose as the
distinction.
recreational vehicle.
How can we word this so that it corrects the problem?
You know what?
Well, that's a very small part of the problem. I
Right.
mean, I'm just,
Right, no, I'm just saying though,
I
because,
don't see why you can't use it. I mean, people come up with their families, especially today, and they need a separate, and they wanna live in there for a little while. I have no problem with that.
You know what I would do? I'd ask the Lakes Region Planning Commission for sample language.
No, I don't.
We'll get together and work on this.
What do other
Yeah.
towns do with the same
I
situation?
think this the
What
way.
other towns?
Well, no, there's a lot of towns out there, and they all have the same problem. There's a lot of problems.
Yeah.
I mean, any given day, you won't find one or two more trailers in your park.
After this weekend, if you wanna get together a couple of evenings, I can get together with you something.
But read, the way this is read, the way this is written right now,
You interpret it a lot of ways.
well, you can't use it on your own property.
Yeah, that's why I interpret it.
That's
Parcel
what
you
it
put it
says.
on, had
We
full
use
use.
today's data.
And now, it says you can use it on a separate parcel of land if not used for more than 14 days. They're not talking about a recreational vehicle now. They're talking about the parcel of land.
The DHA.
So that's it, a separate parcel of land.
I think we need to work on changing that a little bit, work on a special permit for a special reason.
What do you want to
Approved by the
happen?
selectmen or
What
something.
should it say?
I think, personally, myself, there should be permits involved. No charge for the permit.
Right.
But the way I can see how long somebody's living, how they get rid of their septic, whether they have porta potties, and give the people more days. Never mind the 14
Yeah,
days,
we-
give them 30, 60 days.
We need to do something because we have people now who retire, they come home for the summer in their RV and they go
Right.
back to Florida in the winter.
right,
So we need to do a little bit of work with this, then come back for the board, get some
That's
advice,
a-
do
that's
some
a
more
good
work.
point,
What
Roy.
about waste disposal?
Well,
That
that's
can be
the key.
taken
You gotta
care of.
bring that up. I mean,
That's what
you
we're
can-
gonna talk
you can get
about.
by- You can get by with porta potties or something.
yeah. But if you address the issue of the permit and what Roy just said, duration is an
We need
important
something.
thing.
Hey, borrow that, please.
The permit can cover those hookup
Absolutely.
requirements.
Yeah.
Well, once you start putting water in, you're gonna need a septic system.
Right, right.
So now it's possible.
Either that or you have to drive it someplace where you can do a dump every,
This- this-
you know,
this-
few
Well,
doesn't
days.
cover
A lot of these
everything.
trailers you can.
Right.
This isn't covering everything.
Steve, let me ask you one question, since we're in
I
You
mean-
there.
gotta get into the tent situation.
Let me
We gotta-
ask you one
Whoa,
question
whoa,
here.
whoa. One at a time.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
You
Dennis,
transcribe this.
You're on, Dennis.
You have the floor.
Go for it.
Dennis, you have the floor.
I just, well, you know the situation we have right now.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a problem with someone pitching a tent for 2 weeks or whatever, just like with an RV. But when someone pitches a tent and plans on living there with no water, a porta potty, no water, power comes straight off a pole, maybe there's a GFI, I'm not sure. Sanitary, it's not sanitary, it's not healthy. There's gonna be a time limit on that, but there isn't any because tents don't fall on, I've looked at the state, there's nothing in this state on tents. So does this town set a precedent here and said, look, tents fall under the same thing as trailers and campers? And you can't live in that trailer for 2 weeks at a time, you can't live in
If
a
the
tent.
state don't regulate it, I'm not sure how far the town go regulate it. We'd have to
Why
check
not, the
into
town
that.
can adopt anything it wants.
Yeah, they can put it in a zone.
Yeah.
Put it in the zoning.
I'll certainly look into that for you. I have no problem doing that, and I agree with you with that.
I mean, I don't have a problem, like
The
you
old
said,
pine
somebody who
knoll.
wants to temp,
It's just turned into a tent city.
Yeah.
What's that?
The old pine knoll up on 16.
Right.
It's in Albany.
Yeah.
Every town has a
But-
problem with trailers and tents.
But they went to strictly tents.
Yeah.
You might want to call Albany zoning officer and find out.
So they
What
have a
they
separate
did.
section?
Huh?
They have a separate section for tents?
I don't know how they did it. But the planning board passed it.
It should be separate. It shouldn't be under travel trailers and campers.
Right.
Tents
It's gotta be
should-
separate.
Tents should be addressed separately.
Gotta be separate. So they got a campground with tents only allowed, is that what you're
That's
saying?
correct. It's a French outfit. They came out of Canada,
But I don't see a problem with that, if that's the way it is. That's a campground.
but they have certain rules and regulations that they found in their other campsites has worked. What I'm saying is, maybe you can get their rules and regulations, and it would give us some idea what to do.
Some guide, yep.
Relative to
Guidance
tents.
on the tents, yeah.
Right.
well, maybe tents shouldn't be allowed to be pitched in residential areas anyway.
Why? Your kid,
For living in, I don't, we just talked about 2 weeks at a time or something like
Oh, I
that. That's not
understand.
talking.
The
But
problem you're
living
gonna-
it year round?
The problem you're gonna run into, I'm sure you'll find people who live in tents out there for 4 months and they're perfectly clean, there's nothing wrong. They're healthy, it's clean,
I know
they
that.
keep
I
it
know
up,
there's
and then you got the
people
people that don't.
I know there's people now living in tents.
Sure.
Connie,
Yes.
getting back to the first question about trailers and campers, as I asked before, Steve, is there actual wording that you would like to see that would help you enforce those regulations and requirements that you think are not enforceable at the moment?
That's what we're gonna work on.
Yes, there's words, let me look into it.
Okay.
Yeah, let me look into it.
And are you talking about a permit? Are you talking about a permit that can be renewed, so you know that they're there? So like, these people that come from Florida stay more than 60 days. So they have to let you know that they're still there and.
You get a permit, it's a permit for 60 days.
Right.
And that's it, after 60 days, you're done.
They can't
Whatever we
come-
allow, whatever the town
They
wants
can't
to.
come back and get a second permit.
No,
Okay.
no.
I think you're too short, Steve.
Whether it's 30, 60, 90,
No,
whatever the
what I'm
board
saying
agrees
is-
on, we've gotta get rid of the 14-day. We've gotta get rid of the wording in here right now is, it's crazy. 14-day, you can't use it in your own driveway with a house. You can use it on a separate parcel of land for 14 days, and it goes with the parcel, not the trailer. So after the 14 days, that trailer's gotta go.
I don't read that way.
It's black and white.
I
No, I read
understand
it that
that.
way.
But it doesn't say the parcel has got to be vacant.
It says parcels, if parcels are used for
Non-used
not.
parcel.
This
It's
is
black
not
and
used.
white.
Now, let's Steve and I get together next week, so next week we got something put together. We got a lot of ideas kicked around.
I think it was written this way for a reason.
No,
I agree with Connie, it's ambiguous.
Yeah,
it's,
very confusing.
no. The town will allow occasional use on parcels of land if the parcels are not used more than 14 days.
That's right.
Now, reading this, 14 days to 15th day, he hooks up and goes over to another parcel, he can stay another 14 days.
On another parcel of land if he wants to.
Yes.
I'm talking that particular parcel, he can't.
But that house, he can. It doesn't say it has to be vacant.
That's right. That's right.
If he's-
It says if the parcel's not used
No, no,
for
no.
more than 14 days.
That's
The
right.
It's talking about the parcel.
If
That's
it's
Nothing
not
to
used,
do with the trailer, it's the parcel.
The parcel. The
Right.
parcel can't have anything on it because it can't
It's
be
the
used.
parcel. It's got nothing to
The
do with the
parcel
trailer.
itself cannot be used for more than 14 days.
That's
I
not
would
what
guess the
the,
intent was used for the recreational vehicle.
But it
was.
doesn't
We gotta work
say
on it.
I
that.
know
You got a
you
night
said
next
that,
week.
but it's ambiguous.
We'll work on it.
yes, Tim.
You have a night you can meet next week?
Sorry, Connie.
Keep going.
It has to do with how it's worded, obviously, and what happens in the scenario where you have your house, and you have your septic system and your well and whatever, and somebody comes, your son comes to visit for 2 weeks with his travel trailer and parks it on your lot, does this allow him to hook it up to your utilities
No.
Nope.
No.
for those
That's
2
what we're
weeks?
gonna work on.
Okay, that was the kind of the third scenario.
I
But
mean,
I
he
think
could,
that-
he could use your septic system to dispose of his sewerage.
Tell Bo that.
No, but,
On
no.
public service, he's not paying for it. I mean.
No,
No, no.
listen to what I said, sir.
Septic system.
If he comes and dumps it in his father's septic system, the system that's on there, not the town system.
Until you
Read
get
What?
it, Connie, just read it again.
No.
Period, not hooked up, not sometimes, not empty, just not hooked up is what it says.
That's
You
right.
can't change that.
And if you are dumping that, so you don't dump it on the road,
You go to a campground and dump it. I've done it many times, and then you
yeah,
bring it
but
up,
why
it's all
can't he
clean
do
and
it on
right.
his own property?
You don't just dump a system.
No, why?
You've got to clean a system, so now you're hooked up. You change, it's what it says.
Can I make a little clarification here?
I don't believe that, my interpretation of that, maybe I'm wrong, is that you can't hook it up to utilities to live there. If you're doing, flushing that system into your own septic system.
Then we'll write it that way specifically.
Yeah.
'Cause this-
So there's no
this
second
says you
guessing.
can't.
But right now, it doesn't say that.
And actually, when Ed Sullivan owned the red house up there, he had the, what were they, Brownells was their name? I can't remember what their name was, but they would bring their camper up in the summertime from Florida, and they were dumping into his septic system, and they came up from the town and made him stop.
Yeah, but that was hooked up to it. And he could dump it one time to clean it.
How do you even get it into a normal septic system? I mean, I've got a septic system at home. How do I get it?
It's designed so much per day per system.
I know.
And a camper can very well, if you dump it directly in, overload your system that
Yeah,
one
but
day.
I
It
can't
would
get
have
the
to be hooked
camper
up all
up to
the
where
time,
the
which would be
septic system
illegal.
is. I need
Yeah,
about a
yeah.
40-foot hose.
Well, I was just kind of looking at the scenario where if you had 2 family members that showed up with their trailer and they were in it for 2 weeks and they're creating waste.
There's a way to, we can fix that.
If they didn't show up with a trailer, they'd still be creating the same amount of waste, but in the house, going into the same septic system. So it's something we want to consider.
Basically speaking, they're gonna have to use a house facility.
Sure,
Yeah.
But with an extension cord to the trailer might be legal, you know what I'm saying?
yeah. I agree, we ought to look at the finite
And there's
details
other,
of
there's
it.
other things we can work on as if, you know, the permit things, whether the 14-day permits, whatnot, they can prove they went to a waste station, dumped it,
Use the house.
reissue permit, and go back or something, but there's things we can work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without using
I agree.
water from the house.
24.1.
Deserve more time.
I kinda make a motion, we kinda drop this till Steve and I get together at this point.
24.1.1.
Oh, yeah.
That's the zoning permits, the building permits.
All right. On the $2,500 material,
Mhm.
I think contractors, all contractors need building permits when they come in and work. The residents, no, help the residents.
I have a question for you. Something to think about. Let's say I have a house and I want to put a porch on it. I put the deck down the first year, less than 2,500. The next year, maybe put the roof. And then the next year,
The wall.
rest of it.
If you're still alive, good for you, you can get away with it. Permits are good for 1 year.
Even if the combined total exceeds the $2,500.
For a year, the one permit, you get a permit for a year, it's under $2,500, you don't need a permit. You're all set to go. The second year, you wanna do a second year, you wanna go up to the $2,500 limit, there's nothing you can do.
What's the permit gonna cost on a $5,000 porch?
And then we got a whole bunch of jury-rigged whatever's happening.
Well, materials, if you spend $1,000 in materials, you can build a $10,000 deck.
Right, but what's the permit gonna cost?
10 cents a square foot, $25 for the application fee.
So,
That's only half the problem. The other problem I'm finding is many people are building structures and sheds, and it's hard to pull over and say, you know what? Now that it's all built, you gotta move it back 20 more feet, or pull it over here, because they just didn't build it in the right spot. That's what I'm running into.
Well-
Instead of being a builder, now I'm an estimator. I'm driving by looking at roofs, so look at, you're an estimator.
Well,
What you are.
what I just suggested to you, if I was to do that in my place, I guess legally I should go get a variance, because the line, back in those days, the houses were close to the line, within 3 or 4 feet.
Oh, absolutely.
But if I did it that way, I could put the porch on and never have to go through all
No,
that.
if I drive,
He can enforce your distance laws.
if I drive by and catch you, that's how it'll work.
No, but I mean, I haven't done anything illegal though, right?
Yeah,
Yes, you have.
What?
Because you're adding to a structure too close to the line, that he can enforce that.
No. You have a non-conforming
Yeah.
building to start with, and you cannot make it more non-conforming.
Right, right. Without special exception or variance.
So I guess that would take care of it. This just come to my head, you know, that could be done.
Good, they're good
But
questions.
again, that's just the structural part of it. But now you're getting into what about plumbing and electrical?
Right.
Even the residents should have permits. They gotta get permits. You've gotta inspect the plumbing and electrical, just to make sure it's up to code. They get electrocuted.
Why don't you think that owners shouldn't have a building permit?
They shouldn't have to commit for it. They can keep it the same, like $2,500 in materials.
But if it
If they
involves-
want. I mean, it's the contractors that are coming in.
Well, yeah, I understand, I get the contractor thing, but I think everybody that's gonna build, so that we make sure that something is structurally sound. That everybody
Oh,
should.
absolutely. They can come to the town. If they're gonna build something, they can come to the town. I'll go over and inspect the building for them.
Shouldn't any electrical?
But there's
or
no
plumbing-
charge for the permit.
No charge for the permit for the.
There's no charge for the
homeowner.
resident, for the homeowner, no.
Okay,
And if they need help with the electrical, the plumbing, I don't mind.
okay.
But
You're
should-
So you still should have a permit so we know what's being built, so that it's being built
Yes.
correctly. That's what I was after.
Any
Okay,
electrical
yeah.
installation or plumbing installation requires a permit, right?
No,
Do we say
No.
that in here?
Yes.
electrical I can do myself.
But you need a permit.
No, I don't,
Yes, you do.
He says you do.
because I'm not using more than $2,500 worth of material.
It doesn't matter. This is the National Electrical Code now.
and
This
you-
isn't building, this is
National
electrical.
Plumbing Code's the same way.
Yeah.
Yes, it's $15 for a
No,
permit.
I can do my own electrical, and I can do my own plumbing.
Yeah, but you still gotta have a building permit, and he's gotta inspect it.
As
So
your
you did it right.
primary resident, you're absolutely right. If it's a vacation home, no, you can't. If you're a builder, fixing something up to sell it, you can't. But if it's your primary home, and you wanna do your plumbing and electric, yes, you can. Pay the fee, I come and inspect it. Simple as that.
Shouldn't we say in here that all electrical and plumbing installations require building permits?
Well, building permits is building, I mean,
Require a permit?
that's structural.
That's not, that
No?
electrical and plumbing is not a building permit.
Okay, so, but should have a
You would
permit?
have to have a separate section
Yes.
under electrical and plumbing permits.
That's
He's
correct.
still gonna inspect
Basically,
it.
all you
But they're
put,
gonna inspect
But
it.
we
You can
don't.
do your own wiring, he's gonna inspect it, if it's not right, he's not gonna let.
basically, a
Fine.
separate section should say, see the code enforcement. That'd take care of it.
Yeah, if you have a little note in there that references plumbing and electrical,
Because it's
Yeah.
national.
absolutely,
So
The
just
building
absolutely.
permits themselves, if you
Yep.
had a copy, I can show you, the electrical plumbing permit, it says it right on it, the application you fill
Yeah,
out.
so if we leave it
Well
at
said.
$2,500, we should add to that electrical and plumbing, see code enforcement.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That would cover a lot of headaches.
No, because I can go see him and then go do what I wanna do.
You know, 2,500.
I
But he's
don't
aware
need
of
a
it, you go see him.
No, he can't come on my property without
That's
that,
right, but
without that permit.
you can tell him, you want to inspect, you don't. It's your risk.
Actually, what you could add is giving me permission to walk on a property that has no trespassing signs after I issue a permit. We don't have that,
That's correct.
and that's gonna run,
what I'm saying, Steve.
into a problem.
That's why you can write that into your ordinance.
Right.
Absolutely.
that as a town inspector, you shall be allowed on all properties, even if you make it a separate, as long as you include, when you say that, you say build pertaining to building permits, electrical, plumbing permits, and site work.
Right.
You've got to have the site work because otherwise you're not gonna be able to do your offsets.
Right, and most often that language is included when you see a building permit, that's usually noted on the building permit, that kind of language that allows the inspector, zoning officer, whatever, to access the property as part of the terms of the permit.
There's been a problem in different towns in
Yeah.
New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
lawsuits, and people getting hurt.
Yeah.
Because of that, the language isn't there, and they're walking into these properties that no trespassing.
I've dealt with that in the past, on many projects where, when permits are obtained, right on the permit, the language is identified that this gives the, and both the permit issuing officer and the permit applicant sign the permit, and they both agree to the terms of that permit, which allows that governing authority to access the site. It's a simple change, but it's necessary for you, definitely.
Absolutely.
But you don't need a zoning ordinance change for that, you just change the language of the permit, right?
Yeah.
All right, Stephen, are you gonna bring us in some things that we can work on next, in 2 weeks?
Yep.
We can do that.
13 days.
13 days.
Make sure you do, sir.
Are we all done?
No.
No.
Oh, no, wait. Rules of procedure. We,
Working on it.
last time, after the call to order, number 2 would have been Pledge of Allegiance and approval of minutes, hearings. Issues not on the agenda was changed. The only other change that I would do on both the bylaws and the procedure would be membership. B, alternate members shall be appointed by the planning board per RSA 673, semicolon 6, semicolon 2, and shall be designated by the planning board to act in an absence member's place. I would add something like that, because we do not have it. In RSA 673, no,
6761.
right, thank you. 676(1).
No.
The rules of procedure shall include when and how an alternate may participate in minutes of the land use board. And we have never done that, although we, let them sit at the table and be in the discussion. So we have to change that so that he can do that legally. Or her, whoever is the alternate. And we should have it. The alternate may contribute to the discussions as a non-voting member. That's what I nominate.
We've always allowed it, so we should.
Well, it's not a question of whether we should or not. It can be challenged because we don't have it in our bylaws or
So,
procedures.
we need to change it so they may be in discussion, may sit at the table in their place anyway, see if they're not raised.
Can we just turn that into a motion right now?
I just did it.
You did.
Yeah, okay, I'll second that.
You want to repeat the motion just to make sure we got it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, all right. That the alternate may sit at the table and join in the discussion, but may not
Well,
vote.
you don't have to put it, sit at the table. I don't believe.
Okay, they
I'd
join in
rather
the
have it in
discussion,
Yeah.
Right.
but may
All
not
right.
vote unless raised to voting
What'd you
status.
say, Laura?
No.
No?
Yes, I may. The EOP has wording recommendation for that.
Okay.
All right.
Says, during a public hearing, alternates may sit at the table with the regular members and may view documents, listen to testimony, and actively participate and interact with other board members, the applicant, abutter, and the public. However, they shall not be allowed to make or second motions and shall not participate in any way during the deliberation by the board.
In other words, board discussions.
I'd like to make that a motion, that exact way.
Well, you gotta withdraw your second first.
I'll withdraw my
And I
second.
gotta withdraw my motion, and now you can,
Can we just cite that language?
That's what I
Yeah.
just did. I make that motion, we cite that language.
And I second Roy's.
How we messed up yet?
What is the document you're looking at, Lily?
It's the planning board's
Oh, right.
EOP.
Yep,
That's very well
That's what
worded, I
we
like
have.
that.
well written.
Yep.
that's,
Lawyers.
Somebody did it right once.
So, is this motion then?
motion has been made, seconded, discussion. Hearing no discussion, call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
All those in favor?
That was the opposed or what?
All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
I didn't ask for, so, wasn't legal. God.
You go home?
This lady wants to have fun.
All right, so we just have to put that in, not in the procedures, right? I would say.
I'm in the process of redoing the visual aspects of the procedure. I've also added some things, it's only in draft form, I'm not done with it yet.
Okay, you'll have it for us next meeting then.
Yeah.
All right. And I feel that we should have the bylaws and the procedures as separate items. And once we agree on what we want, and we vote on it, I will call for a second vote this next meeting so that the minutes reflect twice. And then it has to go to the town clerk. We don't have to do anything for a public hearing or anything on it.
I'll just call you back when the meeting's gone.
We have section 10.04 of the subdivision regulations, which is the green book. And FEMA says that we have to put A into that section. which reads, the planning board shall review the proposed development to assure that all necessary permits have been received from those governmental services from which approval is required by state, federal and state law, including Section 404 of the Federal Water Pollution Control Amendments of 1962, 33 U.S.C. 1334. What?
72.
I said 1972.
Yes, it's 62.
Close enough.
Close, that's all right, we get it. We
It's-
got it, we got
It's
it.
getting late, Connie.
Going back to childhood.
We got it in Bridger anyway.
I would say that we should add that section as D.
D?
D.
Yeah, D, right. Agree. Is that a motion?
That's a motion,
Second.
ma'am. All those in favor, discussion? No discussion? All those-
Wait a minute, discussion here. Are we adding A, B, and C?
No, read the bottom, please.
A,
Yeah, I read about it, I read
the
about it.
first paragraph shall be in our subdivision 10.4.
Right.
Yeah,
will be added as D. The planning board shall review the proposed
Got it.
development, et cetera, et cetera. And that only,
yeah.
right? Everybody agree on it now?
Yep.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No, you have a thumbs up, you can't oppose it
I
now.
The next one, B and C.
A, B, and
is
C.
8 oh, excuse me, all three.
All three of them, Connie,
Correct.
she said all three.
Correct. Which is 8.03.
Three. Subdivision utility plan. You know, .02, that's 2.03.
Three.
I don't have a, wait a minute, wrong one. Subdivision? Site plan review.
Site plan.
Site plan review, yeah, not subdivision, right.
Wait,
Have a public hearing to affirm these things.
What?
We have to have a public hearing to affirm these changes though.
The regulations.
Any, as I understand it, any changes in our subdivision regs or our site plan review regs have to go through the formality of a public hearing. Even though we all agree, and this is something the federal government says we need in there, you still need a public hearing, I think.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
I mean, we will.
Yeah, we don't have to do it right away, but
But-
sometime, yeah.
No, we will have it sometime in late, probably second week in
What
August,
do they do with it?
second meeting.
Right.
Can I just ask one question? Why does this fall under hazardous material storage as opposed to,
Where are you?
Now,
no?
You mean subdivision or site plan?
Site plan review regs.
I don't have anything.
I believe it should have been 8.03.2.
Oh, you're absolutely correct. I'm sorry.
Not, and I think she made a mistake when she typed it.
Yep.
I will check on that.
No,
So
it's,
I will not, we will not do anything on that tonight. Just to make sure.
yeah, because it does reference flood hazard areas.
Steve, you got it?
You have her card? I have her number if you need.
Okay, I'll have to get it from either you or Steve.
And these changes came from who, Connie?
FEMA.
FEMA.
Oh, okay.
The state coordinator for FEMA.
It's 2, not 3.
You got Greg's letter. I'll give it to you. Mr. Howard wrote to us.
Again?
No. Dear Mr. Howard, in response to your inquiry of the site plan review rules, after discussion by the board, I hope this will answer your question. 1. Any commercial use which is new use for the lot or the lot has not been used as a commercial use for 2 years will trigger a site plan review. 2. Seasonal use which has been grandfathered or has passed a review can operate each year without further review. Farm sales are exempt. He was asking about vegetables too. 3, there is not a difference as far as the SPR rules between a fixed building and a trailer or tent sales as long as it is commercial. The board. 4, the board has been asked in the past quite frequently as to whether someone would need to do a site plan review on a lot which has been used as a commercial use. The board would, on a case-by-case, make a decision as if the site needed a site plan review. So,
It is a letter of response that he has done for a letter received by Greg Howard.
Greg Howard,
I was just asking what you were reading from.
Greg Howard
You weren't here.
was
Okay.
last week.
Last week, okay.
Last meeting when you weren't here.
Yep.
Greg brought up, and it's in the minutes,
Yeah, I saw that notation.
that we went through. Okay, thank you. And I've just answered those 4 questions.
Ah, okay.
Good answer.
So I will, Laura and I will type up a letter to them, and if this board gives me permission, I will,
Make a motion that you, let Laura do it.
and then I sign it.
Sign it, send it.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Roy,
Uh-oh.
let's see, Town Safety Committee at 1 o'clock tomorrow upstairs. If you'd like to go. And Town Safety meeting. That's just every month they have a meeting, you know. That's what it is.
So you keep us all safe.
CBA's gonna bring up the back one, Old Broad Bay again.
Oh, refresh me.
Uh,
On the agenda, sorry.
I can't make it at 1 PM.
no,
No, my work day.
Mr. Bachman is coming in for a
I
variance
see it.
for a carport
yeah.
that he's already installed and has been there
Yep. I see it.
after he was already denied a garage for the same location.
Uh-oh.
This is all going through the court system right now.
And it's also in the court system.
Speaking of that.
No.
You're looking for.
It's 20 after, I make a motion to get the hell out of here.
No, wait a minute.
Motion to go home?
No, no.
No?
I have something I need to bring
Oh,
up.
okay.
I have 2 things,
There's a
actually.
motion
One
on the
is.
table.
No, there's no motion on the table.
Yes, there is. I had a
We'll temporary motion.
No, I did not accept it.
Sustain the motion.
I am.
One thing is just for edification, the conservation page on the website now has a list of all conservation lands with the map and lot, the address, the acreage, a link to the tax map and a link to the Google map.
Right.
I don't know if it's complete, I've done what I can with what was here.
Yeah.
So
It looks,
anybody
it
knows.
looks good.
Yeah,
did
anybody
see
knows
that.
anything, it should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah.
And this doesn't apply to you, Tim, because you've already stated that you donate to both Dan Hole and
I do not donate to either.
at a meeting, at the
I said very
support
clearly, and I
them?
will clarify this for everyone so they're aware.
Okay.
I am not a member of either. I do not donate to either. I am a volunteer with Green Mountain Conservation Group relative to water quality testing on the lakes and rivers only.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm just asking if anybody else does,
Does what?
donates to either, well, I'm concerned now with Green Mountain.
My wife does.
Okay. The perception here with the check from Green Mountain for $4,500.
Right.
If somebody on the board, I would hope, would voluntarily say that they do donate. So that when, I know you don't. And so my concern is just perception here, because we are in the courts with Westwood Shores.
Absolutely.
And if you did donate to this group,
Well,
I would ask
specifically
it.
donate to the general fund, not to that particular.
Well, but this came out of
cause.
this came out of the general fund. So, and can I just finish where I was going? So I'm not pointing fingers, and I'm just asking that maybe for the sake of perception, for the sake of the town, that the money is being used to sue your own town. So if you feel that you need to recuse yourself, I would ask you to do that because of the association with Green Mountain.
Right.
That's all I have to say. I'm done.
Make a
Motion
motion
to
to
get out of here,
adjourn.
please. I second it.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed?
I did it anyway.
That's it.
Anybody oppose it?